I kind of agree with you, because I think what we're playing at this point in the game, everybody who feels as strongly as Katrina and myself or Bay knows, or yourself, who they're going to vote for, or who they want to vote for. We're playing like between the 48-yard lines in a football game, a little margin here, a little margin there. And I do think that's why the 47% tape, which I'll take some credit for, really showed a lot, and I think that's why Biden came back to it. And I do think in the debate ahead, talking to people in the Obama camp, Obama is going to try to remind people that there is a gap between what Romney said in the debate and what he has or hasn't said previously. So when he says, yeah, I'm for pre-existing conditions too, which is to get to the empathy issue that you're talking about, actually, he's not for that. When he says, you try to be more moderate, more empathetic, yeah, I'm not going to do anything to threaten abortion, and then his campaign people have to rush out.
That in this coming debate.
So, but I think that's where Obama sees an opportunity
in the town hall debate. If that's the strategy that Barack Obama takes, he will lose that debate. And this is why. Romney will then say, you were asked a question about where you stand, and you turn and attack me. And that's all that you do?
Well, I think you
but I don't think he will do that. I think he needs to be. But I would disagree with Frank on one thing. You describe us as ideological. I would argue common sense. We are talking about returning tax rates to where they were. No, where they were under the Clinton era. We're talking about tax rates that Reagan would have supported. We're talking about economic security that millions of people believe in terms of the support for Medicare and Social Security, and what Franklin Delano Roosevelt built in this country. The Republican Party today wants to repeal and roll back the New Deal and the civilizing advances of the 20th century. Simply that. It's not common sense.
Let me put some economic news in here. We have to take a break for a commercial so we get paid during this time. We'll be back in 1 minute with more from our panel. We're back now with our panel, and as I sit here listening to you all, I mean, as something just kind of comes to me. Why is it there are so few undecideds at this time? And the undecided vote has been very small from the beginning. Why is that? And why is it we no longer have national elections to elect a president? We have elections that come down to 6 to 9 battleground states. Why is that, John?
Well, the partisanship is because people, have passionate feelings. Those who are in the middle get turned off by conversations the way they're adjudicated.
People have always in America been passionate.
Well, but they've moved, between parties on various issues. I mean, now they're passionate and they line up with a single party, and it's just the parties. You now have a situation where the most liberal Republican is still more conservative than the most conservative Democrat. And so people, if that's the parties that you're sorting to, then that's where people end up having off. Any politician who might be attractive, who leans and goes over towards the other party and might get some people who find them attractive.
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, we had conservative Democrats and liberal Republicans, and then we had conservative Republicans
there are far more
liberal Democrats.
In Congress, I think there are far more conservative Democrats. You have a whole blue dog coalition than there are liberal Republicans.
Not so many anymore.
The trend line is right. But I think, I would argue, and Norman Ornstein and Thomas Mann wrote a whole book about this. They would argue that they think that the Republican Party has gotten more to the right than the Democratic Party has been to the left, and it's led to, the inability to have bipartisan compromises.
Why do you say in that context there's no politician for a person in the middle to go latch onto? There's the people don't exist to go rally behind.
What's your thought, Frank?
And it's also 97 to 98% of all ads are now negative. And so all you are told is why your opponent is a fool, is incompetent, or worse yet, a liar. And so how are you supposed to then function as a democracy when 97% of it is, and it's awful, and it works?
But I disagree on one point here. I think there's no question I was in the Reagan campaign, and it was nasty. Primary was nasty, general election was nasty. I mean, there couldn't be any uglier description of the man who eventually won. But because of his personality, he was a kind of guy that just bring you on over, bring Tip over, let's have a drink, have some laughs. And he was able to bring not only the country together, but Democrats and Republicans. And he forced solutions. He just forced it through. And I think that that's what we need. We need a leader who will bring the country together. And Barack Obama has failed in that town.
Bob, you've lived politics for many years. Let's not get nostalgic about how ugly it's gotten. We have seen the money pour in, which has amped up the ugliness of these ads. But David's right. We have one party, which is essentially an extremist party. The Democratic Party remains a coalition party in many ways. No, and I do think President Obama, and we've had our disagreements about President Obama's policies, did come to this city really intent on trying to find compromise. And what did he find? Senator DeMint, Senator McConnell, who said their first priority was to take him down. And it was the first major piece of social legislation, Obamacare was, which passed, correct me if I'm wrong, in contemporary modern history without a single opposition party vote. So I think we're looking at redistricting, the flood of money post-Citizens United, demographic shifts, and I would like to see a real Republican Party. But we don't have one at the moment. We have an extremist Republican Party. The moderate Republicans are an extinct breed, and I think that is dangerous and unhealthy.
Well, it's interesting that you're concerned about the Republican Party. I think that's very, very engaging of you. But you know what? This Republican Party is as strong and as energetic and as excited about guiding and directing this country as I have ever seen it in 20 years. The energy out there is similar to what we had with Reagan. There's no question it's more conservative.
What? Come on, babe. I was at the convention.
I was at that convention.
I didn't see anything that is resembling the type of energy. Grassroots.
We have a terrific we have a bench of terrific young leaders coming up.
Lindsey Graham, who was on earlier, said in a moment of honesty that we may not have enough grumpy old white men left soon to continue this party as it is. The demographic changes in this country
but you're
are
talking
so
about today's party is there.
Sure. Right now, Congress has Democrats in the Senate, Republicans in the House, has a 10% job approval rating. Gaddafi had a 14% job approval rating, and that was among the people who killed him.
You're not
advocating.
I just want to go around and
you're not advocating
I want to do my own little focus group here.
Yeah.
What happens next in the campaign, and what does your person have to do? And I'll just start with Bay, go down this way, and then come back this way.
We got to keep the momentum. We've got enormous momentum right now across the board, as is indicated, in every one of these states. And what the governor has to do, and what he will do, is be exactly who he was at that last debate. Be himself. Get out there and really let the American people know the kind of amazing leader, competence, has experience and know-how to turn this country around, put Americans back to work. He'll do that in the next 2 debates. He'll do it out there in every single interview, and he will win this election.
Right.
And my person is not Romney or the Democrats. I come here as a CBS News analyst. The candidates have to address jobs, and they have to address bipartisanship. They have to demonstrate that they have a specific plan, because people in Ohio, in Wisconsin, in North Carolina, in Florida are hurting, badly hurting. And they're crying in these focus groups. They're actually losing it because they're afraid of the future. And they have to show that they can work together, that there's some way for them to go across the aisle. And that will determine who the next president is.
I'm going to have John go last, over to David.
Okay. I don't have a person. I'm a journalist. I don't represent any campaign. I don't, Bay. You do. And I think for the president, after the last debate, it's pretty clear he's going to have to show some vim and vigor, and I think he's going to have to find a way to puncture what I think is this 11th hour conversion of Mitt Romney from a guy who had very extreme, very specific ideas, into a guy who just says, I'm great, trust me, and who looks good and can play the part. And whether it's at the town hall debate or the debate that you're going to get to moderate down the road, and with advertising and with the ground game as well, he's going to have to find a way to bring Romney back to where he's been campaigning all along and show that he himself, Barack Obama, has specific ideas.
I think President Obama, I would agree with Frank, has to speak about jobs and the pain in this country, feel people's pain. I think he has to speak with passion and engagement. I do think he needs to lay out what he would do, but at the same time, in this post-truth politics, I do think he needs to expose the extreme makeover of Mitt Romney and also point to the news of the lowest jobless rate since 2009, 500,000 manufacturing and auto industry jobs. And finally, I think he does need to speak again to women and economic security in a very important way. And those are the key things.
All right. Let me just ask then, John, what do you expect in 30 seconds?
President will have to find a way to say, Mitt Romney doesn't care enough to be straight with you in the campaign. He's not going to care enough about you to be straight with you as president. Romney has to say they're tired and out of ideas. The only creativity you see from this administration is finding new people to blame. They blame a video in Libya. They blame ATMs for the economy. That the only creativity, they're out of ideas. The only creativity is just kind of pointing the finger of blame. That's what Romney's got to argue.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with some thoughts from some other people on what they think is going on.